I want to tell you a story. It is my story. Before this story happened, my life was very different. I was a teacher. I was a math teacher in a high school. I was 35 years old. The parents of my students liked me very much. I was a good teacher. I worked hard. My students learned a lot about math. When the school year ended, there was a big day called graduation. On that day, the students celebrated finishing high school. Their parents came to the school. They were very proud. The parents would see me and they would smile. They would come to me and put their hand up. And I would put my hand up, and we would slap our hands together. This is called a high five. It is something people do when they are happy and want to say, "Good job." The parents were happy with me. They were happy that I taught their children well. I was a teacher that parents trusted. Then there was him. He was a young man. He was 20 years old. He was a former Marine. A Marine is a type of soldier. He had left our high school when he was 17 years old to join the Marines, but he had to leave the Marines and come back home. He came back to my class. It was a summer class. He needed to take this one last class to get his final credit from high school. A credit is a point you get for finishing a class. He needed this credit so he could go to college. Our story is about love. One night in July, we told each other how we felt. We told each other that we were in love. It was a very important night for us. But this love came with a very big price. By the next morning, my whole life was gone. I lost my job as a teacher. I lost the house I lived in. I lost every friend I had in that town. The town had a zip code, which is a number for the mail, but for me, it was the number of a place where I lost everything. This is the story of how that happened. It's the story of how he and I chose each other. We chose to be together, even when it was very hard. And I will tell you if it was worth all the bad things that happened. I will tell you if the fallout, the terrible result of our choice, was worth it. Hello, my name is Olivia. For a very long time, I did not introduce myself as Olivia. I introduced myself as Ms. Carter. That was my name as a teacher. When people asked me who I was, I would say, "I am Ms. Carter." Ms. Carter was a person who loved math. She was an algebra nerd. A nerd is a person who loves a subject very much. Ms. Carter also helped with the robotics club at the school. The students in the club built robots. I was the person who helped them, who wrangled them. Wrangling is like trying to control wild animals, and sometimes teenagers with robots are like that. I was also the lady who kept extra calculators in her desk. The calculators were in the top drawer of my desk. I kept them for students who forgot their own. That was Ms. Carter. That was my life. Now I introduce myself in a different way. I say, I am a walking cautionary tale. A cautionary tale is a story that warns people. It is a story that says, be careful. Do not do what I did. My story is a warning to others. This story is long, so you should get a drink. Maybe you drink coffee. Maybe you drink tea. Maybe you drink something else. Get the drink that helps you stay calm and listen. This is a big story. It has many parts. And before you write things in the comments section online, I want to say something. The comments section of a video can be a difficult place. People can say mean things. They can get very angry. My story can make people angry. So before the comment section melts or gets too hot with angry words, I want to be clear. Yes, he was legally an adult. In the eyes of the law, he was a grown man. He was not a child. I was his former teacher when our love story really began. This means I was not his teacher anymore when anything physical happened between us. We did not break the law, but it did not matter. Our lives still got nuked. Nuked means completely destroyed. It was like a giant bomb went off in our lives and destroyed everything. If you stay and listen to my story, I will tell you exactly what happened. I will show you how that big explosion, that mushroom cloud of problems, grew and spread. And I will tell you how we survived. I will tell you how we crawled out from all the broken pieces of our lives and how we were still holding each other's hands. Section 1. The sliding scale of inappropriate. People like to say things to me. They say, "You should have known better." They think I was foolish. They think I did not understand that my actions were wrong. But I want you to know something. I thought that too. I told myself that before anyone else did. I had been a teacher for 13 years. For 13 years, I was very, very careful. I had a job teaching teenagers. Teenagers are young people, not quite adults. I had to be a role model. I had very strict rules for myself. I drilled these rules into my own head every day. The rules were simple. Do not flirt with students. Flirting is talking in a playful, romantic way. I never did that. Do not favor students. This means do not treat one student better than the other students. I was fair to everyone. And do not even joke about students in the teacher's lounge. The lounge was a room where teachers could rest, even there, with other teachers. I was careful about what I said. I was a professional. My job was my life. I was very good at my job. I knew the rules. I followed the rules for 13 long years. Then, James came back to school. He re-enrolled. This means he signed up for a class again after being away. His story was not a simple one. He had left our high school when he was only 17 years old. He left to join the Marines. The Marines are a branch of the military, a group of soldiers who are very strong and disciplined. But his time in the Marines was short. He had an accident during a training exercise. He got hurt. Because of this injury, he was discharged. This means he had to leave the Marines. It was not his choice. He came back to our small town. He wanted to go to college. He wanted to study engineering. Engineering is the study of how to build things, like bridges and machines. But to get into engineering school, he was missing one thing. He needed one more math credit from high school, just one. The school counselor called me. A counselor is a person at school who helps students with their problems and their schedules. My summer class was already full. There were too many students, but the counselor begged me. She said, "Please, Olivia, please, can you make room for him? He is a good kid. He served his country. He just needs this one class to start his life over." So I said yes. I squeezed him into my class. I remember the first day he walked into my classroom. He was not a boy anymore. He was a young man. He was wearing boots. They were old and scuffed. They showed that he had walked many miles in them, and he was very polite. He called me Mom. He said it with respect. It was not like the other students. When he said Mom, he made it sound like he truly meant it. He saw me as a person of authority, a person to respect. My own life at that time was very difficult. I was recently divorced. This means my marriage had ended. I was living alone in a big house. It was the house my ex-husband and I had bought together. Now it was just me. The house was so quiet. It was an empty, silent place. The only loud noise was the ice maker in the refrigerator. When it dropped new ice, the sound was like artillery. It was like the sound of big guns in a war. The loud noise in the middle of the silence always made me jump. I was lonely, but I was also the department chair at my school. This meant I was the head of the math department. I was a leader. I had a reputation to protect. My brand, my identity was being professional. I kept a professional distance from everyone, especially students. So, James and I, we kept it clean. Our relationship was simple and professional. He was the student. I was the teacher. He would ask questions about math. I would give him the answers. Sometimes he needed extra help. He would stay after school for calculator sessions. I would teach him how to use the special calculator for advanced math. We talked about math. We talked about his homework. There was nothing fuzzy. Nothing was unclear or emotional. It was all about schools. That continued until the very last day of the summer class. On that day, he gave me something. He handed me a card. It was a thank you card. It was special. He had made it himself. He had used a special machine to press the letters into the thick paper. It was a craft called letterpress. The card was beautiful. It felt important. I opened the card. Inside, he had written a few words. His handwriting was neat. He wrote, "You reminded me more than my discharge papers." His discharge papers were the official documents that said he had to leave the Marines. For him, those papers meant failure. They meant he was broken. But in my class, he felt smart. He felt capable. I helped him see that he was more than his injury. He was a person with a future. I read the words. I felt something warm in my chest. I slid the card into my planner. My planner was the book where I wrote all my appointments and plans. I told myself it was just a sweet thing for a student to do. I told myself it meant nothing more. I told myself that was the end of the story. I got in my car. I drove home to my quiet, empty house. I thought, that is it. He will go to college. I will start the new school year. The story is over. I was wrong. It was not the end of the story. It was the beginning. Section 2. The glance that lasted. 1 second too long. 3 weeks passed. The summer class was over. The school was quiet. I was getting ready for the new school year in the fall. I needed to buy groceries. I did not like going to the grocery store in my own town. Sometimes I would see parents of my students. They would want to talk about the classes for the new school year. They would want to debate the syllabus. The syllabus is the plan for a class. Sometimes I just wanted to be alone. I did not want to be Miss Carter, the math teacher. I just wanted to be Olivia. So I drove to a town 2 towns away from mine. It was a longer drive, but I felt I could be anonymous there. No one would know me. I was in the grocery store. I was in the cereal aisle. I was looking at boxes of cereal, trying to decide what to buy. And then I saw him. It was James. He was standing there. He was not wearing his old boots. He was wearing a gray Henley shirt. It is a simple, comfortable shirt with a few buttons at the neck. His hair was different. It was not a short military haircut anymore. It was civilian hair. It was a little longer, a little softer. He saw me and he smiled. It was a big, real smile. It was a smile that made it seem like he had been waiting there just to see me. We were both surprised. We said hello. We walked toward each other. We did a side hug. It is a quick, friendly hug from the side. But when we hugged, my cheek brushed against his collarbone. And for a moment, We both froze. We both stopped moving completely. It was just for a second. But in that second, something changed. It was like a tiny hinge on a very large door. That small moment opened up a whole new world. We started talking. We decided to get coffee. We went to a small coffee shop near the grocery store. We sat at a small table. I thought we would talk for a few minutes, but a few minutes turned into 2 hours. We did not talk about math. We talked about everything else. We talked about circuits and radios. He loved building things. He knew so much about electronics. He was so passionate. He explained why math proofs were important. A proof is a way to show that a math idea is always true. He said he liked them because they were like a puzzle with a perfect answer. We talked about our lives, our hopes, our dreams. When it was time to leave, he walked me to my car. This time, he hugged me for real. It was a full-on hug. His arms wrapped around me. I felt my ribs, the bones in my chest, press against him. And when he hugged me, I felt a strange feeling. It was like my whole body had a short circuit. A short circuit is when electricity goes the wrong way and causes a spark. It was like a good kind of spark inside my chest. It was a feeling so strong it made it hard to breathe for a second. I got in my car and drove home. My hands were shaking a little. I kept saying words to myself over and over again. I chanted them like a prayer. I said, "Hez your former student. He is your former student. Nothing happened. Nothing happened." I was trying to convince myself that the line was still there. I was trying to tell my heart to be quiet, but I knew it was not true. Something had happened. The air between us had changed. The oxygen we were breathing felt different. It was full of something new, something exciting, and something very, very dangerous. After that day, we started seeing each other more. We called them accidents. We would say, "Oh, what a coincidence to see you here." A coincidence is when things happen by chance. We started to accidentally meet in different places. I would go to the bookstore to look for new books, and he would be there. I would go to the farmer's market on a Saturday morning to buy vegetables, and he would be there. I would go to a quiet park to grade papers for my upcoming classes, and he would walk by. We did not send text messages. We did not make plans. We never said, "Let's meet at the park at 3:00. We just knew. We knew where the other person might be. We created these coincidences on purpose. It was our secret game. It felt safer that way. If we did not make plans, then we were not doing anything wrong. That is what we told ourselves. One evening, we met at the park again. The sun was going down. We walked and talked for a long time. He walked me to my car. It was dark now. There was a single tall light in the parking lot. It made a soft buzzing sound. The air was quiet except for that buzz. We stood by my car, not wanting to say goodbye. He looked at me. His eyes were very serious. He said, "I think about you constantly." His voice was low. He continued, "And I don't think about you like a teacher. I think about you like the first voice I want to hear in the morning. I think about you like the person I want to tell my day to." The parking lot light buzzed above us. The world felt very still. It felt like we were the only two people alive. I was scared. My heart was beating so fast, but I knew I felt the same way. I could not lie. I looked at him, and I whispered, "Me too." The words were so quiet, but they were the truest words I had ever said. I said them, and I waited. I waited for something bad to happen. I waited for the world to punish me. But it didn't. The sky didn't fall. The ground didn't shake. It was just us, standing under a buzzing light, finally telling the truth. Section 3. The kiss that tasted like detention. Our first kiss happened in my classroom. It was late July. The school was empty and quiet. I was there late at night, preparing things for the new school year. I was using the laminator. It is a machine that puts a plastic cover on paper. It makes a soft humming sound. The whole room smelled like warm plastic and floor wax. It was the smell of my life, the smell of my job. He came to the school. He said he had something for me. He had found some old posters. They were vintage math posters from many years ago. They were beautiful. He knew I would love them. He brought them to my classroom. He unrolled the posters to show me. I leaned in to look at them. As I pointed to one of the drawings, my fingers brushed against his. It was a small touch, just like the side hug in the grocery store. It was another tiny hinge. And then it happened. We were not thinking. We were only feeling. He looked at me and I looked at him. And suddenly, we were kissing. We were kissing right there in my classroom. We were standing against the big whiteboard, the board I used to write math problems on. Every alarm bell in my head started to ring. All the rules from my 13 years of teaching screamed at me. Stop! This is wrong! This is your classroom! He was your student! But the alarms were muffled. They sounded like they were far away, like a fire drill happening in a different part of the school. The feeling of his kiss was louder than any alarm. After a few moments, I pulled away. I was overwhelmed. I started to cry. I ran into the supply closet. It was a small, dark room where I kept paper, pens, and all my teaching supplies. I sat on the floor in the dark and cried. I was not crying because I felt guilty. I was not crying because I thought we had done something terrible. I was crying because I knew that a line had been crossed and we could never go back. That clear, professional line I had guarded for so many years was gone forever. My old life was over. I knew it in that moment. He waited outside the closet door. He was scared. He thought he had hurt me. He kept muttering, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." He thought he had made a mistake. I opened the door. I looked at him. My face was wet with tears. I said, "Don't be sorry, just give me a minute." I was not sorry that we kissed. I was just scared of what would happen next. That minute, that 1 minute I asked for in the hallway, ended up costing me everything. It cost me the reputation I had built for 12 years. After that night, we knew we could not pretend anymore. We were in love. We had to figure out what to do. We sat down and we made rules. We were both people who liked rules. We thought rules would protect us. We thought being logical and careful would make everything okay. Our first rule was no contact until his final grade was officially posted by the school. We did not want anyone to ever say that our feelings changed his grade. His grade had to be official and final. Our second rule was no public outings. We would not go on dates in public until he was officially graduated. Graduation was not just the ceremony. It was the official date that the school district said he was a graduate and no longer a student. We did not want to be seen together in a romantic way, while he was still in any way connected to the school system. Our third rule was the most important one. We decided we would have full disclosure. This means we would tell the truth to the school administration before the fall semester started. We would go to the principal. We would tell them that we had developed feelings for each other after he was no longer my student. We would be honest and transparent. We thought transparency would be our shield. We thought if we told the truth and followed the rules, people would understand. We thought they would respect our honesty. We forgot one very important thing. We lived in a small town, and in a small town, gossip travels faster than fact. Rumors travel faster than the truth. People would rather believe a juicy story than a simple, honest one. We were so focused on following the rules of the school, we forgot about the unwritten rules of a small town. Section 4. The email that ended my career. The trouble started with an email. It arrived in my inbox at 6:17 in the morning. It was a Saturday. I was at home drinking coffee. I saw the subject line. It said, "Concerned Parent." I opened it. The body of the email was short and brutal. It said, "We hear you're dating a student." Disgusting, that was all. There was no name. The email was anonymous. The person who sent it did not say who they were. There was no proof. There were no facts. It was just a rumor, typed out and sent to me like a weapon. My heart sank. I felt sick to my stomach. "We hear..." That meant people were talking. The gossip had started. By Monday morning, things were much worse. The school board had received 4 more emails. The school board is a group of people who are elected to manage the schools in a town. They are the bosses of the principals and the teachers. These new emails were also from concerned parents. They were all anonymous. The board called me into a meeting. They did not ask me if the rumor was true. They did not ask me what really happened. They were not interested in the facts. They were asking a different kind of question. They were asking how to keep this story from becoming a headline in the local newspaper. They were worried about a scandal. They were worried about the school's reputation, not about me. On Wednesday, they told me I was on paid leave. This meant I was not allowed to go to school. I was not allowed to teach. They would still pay me my salary, but I had to stay home. They said it was temporary while they investigated, but I knew what it really was. They were hiding me. On Friday, the headline they were scared of happened. It was on the front page of the town newspaper. The story was about me and James. The article did not use the word alleged. The word alleged means that something is claimed but not proven. The newspaper wrote the story as if the rumors were 100 true. They wrote that I was having an affair with a current student. It was all lies, but it was printed in black and white for the whole town to read. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Parents who had signed their children up for my fall classes started calling the school. They demanded that their kids be moved to a different teacher's class. They yanked their kids from my roster. On Facebook, the mothers in the town created groups to talk about me. They wrote terrible things. They called me names. They declared that they would rather homeschool their children than let them be taught by a teacher like me. The school board called an emergency meeting. This time, it was a formal meeting to decide my fate. I was not allowed inside the meeting room. I had to sit on a bench in the hallway outside. I sat there while a group of strangers, people who did not know me, voted on my life. They voted on whether I was a predator. A predator is a person who hunts and harms others. That is what they thought I was. James came to the meeting. He wanted to defend me. They let him speak. He stood in front of the board and he told the truth. He said she never broke any policy. She never did anything wrong while I was her student. I pursued her. I was the one who started it. The board members listened. They looked at him. They thanked him for his service in the Marines. They treated him with respect. Then they turned their attention back to me. They voted and they fired me. The official reason was conduct unbecoming of a teacher. It is a general phrase that means I did something that made the school look bad. I had to go back to my classroom one last time to get my things. Someone from the office watched me. I packed my life into a small cardboard box. In the box, I put my favorite coffee mug, the one I used every morning. I put the little letter-pressed card that James had given me. I put a flash drive. That little piece of plastic held a decade of my work. It had all my lesson plans, all my tests, all my notes. 10 years of my career was on that flash drive. I walked out of the school with that box in my arms. I was no longer Miss Carter. The town was not finished with me. A week later, I woke up to a new horror. Someone had come to my house in the middle of the night. They had spray painted a word across my garage door. The word was whore. It was a terrible, hateful word for a woman. The red paint was bright against the white door. I tried to scrub it off, but I could not get it all. The paint faded. It became a ghost of a word. It was a faint outline that greeted me every single morning when I left my house. It was a constant reminder that the town hated me. I was terrified. I was afraid to be alone in the house. James started sleeping on my couch. He wanted to make sure I was safe. But even with him there, I was a nervous wreck. Every little sound in the house made me flinch. A creaking floorboard, a car driving by, it all sounded like a threat. We were both exhausted and scared. We were two people who had always followed the rules. But the town did not care about the rules. The town just wanted us gone. So we decided to leave. Section 5. The U-Haul and the Unknown. We packed our things in the middle of the night. We started at 3 a.m. We did not want anyone to see us. We did not want to see the looks on our neighbors' faces. We did not want to face their stares and their judgment. We loaded everything we owned into a big U-Haul truck. I found the plaques I had received from the school. One was a Teacher of the Year award. I had been so proud of it. Now it just felt like a painful memory. I held them in my hand and I walked over to the trash can. I was about to toss them in. James saw me. He came over and gently took the plaques from my hands. He said, "Don't throw these away." He found a soft blanket and carefully wrapped them up. He told me, "Someday you'll want these. Someday you'll want proof that you were good. You were a great teacher, Olivia. Don't ever forget that." He put the wrapped plaques carefully in the truck. We got in the truck and we started driving. We drove south. We drove for hours and hours. We watched the scenery change outside the window. The green cornfields of our old home slowly turned into dry sagebrush. We were entering a different part of the country, a place where the land was open and empty. We drove until we felt we were far enough away. We landed in a new city where nobody knew us. Nobody knew our story. Nobody knew our drama. We could be anonymous again. Starting over was incredibly hard. I needed a job. I applied for everything I could find. I applied for jobs in a warehouse packing boxes. I applied for a job at a hotel front desk, checking people in. But my name was a problem. If anyone searched my name on Google, the scandal was the first thing that came up. The newspaper articles, the angry comments, it was all there. Nobody called me back for an interview. My past was like a ghost that followed me. James found a job. He started working at a plant that made wind turbines. Wind turbines are the giant white windmills that generate electricity. He worked the graveyard shift. That means he worked all through the night and came home in the morning. He would come home smelling of machine oil and metal. He was always tired, but he would always kiss me. He would kiss me like I was the only thing in the world that made sense. He kissed me like I was the only equation that balanced. He wanted to help me. He knew I missed teaching. He built a website for me. He advertised my services as a math tutor. I could teach students one-on-one. My first student was a high school kid who needed help with AP Calculus. AP Calculus is a very difficult college-level math class. I taught him in his family living room. I worked for cash. I had no benefits, no health insurance, no retirement plan. It was not a real job, but it was teaching, and I loved it. That first student took his big AP exam at the end of the year. He scored a 5. A 5 is the highest possible score. It is a perfect score. His parents were so happy. They told their friends about me. They said, "There's this amazing tutor. She helped our son get a perfect score." Word started to spread. More parents called me. The demand for my help grew and grew. Soon I had too many students to teach in their living rooms. Within a year, James and I had saved enough money to rent a small office. It was a tiny space, but it was ours. It was located above a bakery. The whole office always smelled like fresh bread and sugar. James helped me set up the office. He brought the plaques he had saved. He hung my Teacher of the Year awards on the wall behind my new desk. And in the very center, right underneath the plaques, he hung the small letter-pressed card he had given me so long ago. The card that said, "You reminded me in more than my discharge papers." We needed a name for our new business. We decided to call it Second Chance Tutoring. It was perfect. We gave a second chance to students who were struggling, and the business was our second chance at life. We even made a tagline, a little motto. It was, "Everyone deserves to learn." It might sound a little cheesy or silly, but we believed it. And that little business, born from shame and scandal, started to pay our bills. It paid the mortgage on our new small house. We were building a new life, one math problem at a time. Section the question we still ask. Do I have regrets? People ask me that sometimes. The answer is yes, but it is also no. Yes, I have regrets. I regret the chaos that my choices brought down on my colleagues, the other teachers I worked with. They had to deal with angry parents and a media scandal. They did not deserve that. I regret the phone calls my parents had to field. They had to listen to angry people from our town telling them what a horrible daughter they had raised. I regret that James spent his 21st birthday in a school board hearing room, defending me. A young man should spend his 21st birthday in a bar with his friends, celebrating. He spent his fighting for our love. I regret the pain we caused other people. But there is one thing I do not regret. I do not regret loving him. I never will. real love, true love, is so rare. Finding it is like finding a perfectly factored quadratic equation. It is neat, it is beautiful, and it makes sense. It is a rare and precious thing. I found it with him. I will not regret that. Our new life was not easy. We fought. We had been through something terrible, and it left scars. We went to therapy. A therapist is a doctor who helps people with their feelings and problems. In therapy, we learned how to fight like adults. We learned how to communicate. We learned to stop using silent treatments where one person refuses to talk to the other. We learned to not throw grenades at each other in an argument. A grenade is a hurtful accusation like saying, "You are the reason we're broke," or "This is all your fault." We learned to talk about our anger and our fear without blaming each other. People used to talk about the power imbalance between us. They said because I was older and I had been his teacher, I had all the power, but that idea vanished very quickly. It disappeared the moment we both became unemployed nobodies. It disappeared when we were both scrubbing grease off plates at a diner at 2 a.m. to make extra money. Power is not about age. It is about context. It is about the situation you are in. When we had nothing, we were equals. We were just two people trying to survive together. He proposed to me. It was not a fancy proposal. It happened in the back row of a graduation ceremony at a community college. He had finished his engineering degree, the one he started after taking my summer class. We were watching his friends get their diplomas. He turned to me, and he had a ring. He said, "You taught me how to solve for X, but you also taught me how to solve for happiness. Marry me." I ugly cried. It is when you cry so hard your face gets all red and messy. But they were happy tears. I said yes. Our wedding was small. We had 12 guests. We got married in a botanical garden, a beautiful park full of flowers and plants. The flower crowns we wore on our heads were made by some of the homeschool kids I tutored. There was no newspaper, no press, no one to judge us. Our vows, the promises we made to each other, were simple. We promised to always choose honesty over optics. That means we promised that the truth of our love would always be more important than what other people thought of us. If you have listened to my whole story, thank you. Thank you for staying. The internet can be a place of anger. People get out their pitchforks. They are ready to attack. So the fact that you just listened, that you gave me your time, it means more to me than any award or any plaque ever could. I have a question for you. You can answer in the comments. What do you think of my story? Was what I did an unforgivable mistake? Or would you risk everything you have for the right person? If you want to see more of our life now, you can subscribe to our channel. We post videos of us building robots. We do it on a shoestring budget, which means we do it with very little money. And one last thing. If you are in a situation right now that feels impossible, if you are trapped and you feel like there is no way out, please tell someone. Send a direct message. Call a friend. Talk to a family member. We did not crawl out of our hole alone. We had help, and you deserve help too. Sometimes I drive past a high school when the school day is over. I see all the students pouring out of the doors. I hear the sound of the school bell. I can almost smell the floor wax and the chalk dust. And I feel that old tug in my heart. I feel a pull toward my old life. I miss being Ms. Carter. I miss the chaos and the energy of a classroom full of teenagers learning math. But I also love my new life. I love being Olivia. Olivia is the woman who tutors students while wearing comfortable sneakers. She is the woman who gets to go upstairs from her office and eat pastries with her husband who works with her. She's a woman who no longer jumps every time the doorbell rings. We paid a very high price for our love. You could say we paid a brutal tuition. We lost a career. We lost a hometown. We lost a reputation. But what did we buy with that price? We bought something precious. We bought the right to wake up every morning and choose each other without having to say sorry for it. Is it a happily ever after story? No. Real life is not a fairy tale. We still argue about whose turn it is to do the laundry. We still have bad days, but our love, the love that people called forbidden, found a way to grow. It took root in scorched earth, in land that had been burned and destroyed, and in that burned ground it grew something new and something green. So yes, I was his teacher. We chose love, and the price was my job. Would I pay that price again? You can ask me that on our 50th wedding anniversary. But I can tell you the answer now. I already know the answer will still be yes.